All right, welcome to Bet the Edge. I'm Jay Croucher here with Drew Dinsick from a different, warmer time zone and a superior blue-black backdrop again, defeating mine in a landslide. We're going to talk today about Packers, Titans, Lions, Cardinals, and Sunday Night Football, Chiefs, Falcons. We'll close out with our favorite bets for the week. Let's get stuck into Packers, Titans, Drew. Do you know if Jordan Love is going to play or not?
I don't, but recent history of franchise quarterbacks who have had injury questions swirling has tended to default to them calling their own numbers to play. Deshaun Watson is maybe the only example of a guy who was sort of a little bit murky about his availability and elected not to play last year. Other examples include Josh Allen, who injured his shoulder, and we were like, man, 2-3 weeks, like how long are they going to be? Oh no, he played. The next week, Justin Herbert, similar example, not the toe injury, but there was the broken finger. I feel like last year, Trevor Lawrence had what 10 injuries. So we thought, it's a short week. They're playing the Saints. Like, sprained MCL. Like, no way he went out there on a short week and he played great. So I think like we kind of are in the age where quarterbacks are going to play through things, unless it's so serious that they just cannot get greenlit by the medical staff to get out on the field, a la what we may be dealing with Tua in Miami. And so I guess my mindset is just assume that the guy will go if he's 50-50 until proven otherwise, and find the best entry into the market if there is upside to a tale of Jordan Love playing. And I think it's pretty obvious what the upside is in this one, and it's over 38, more so than it is taking a swing right now at the Packers on the money line. There was obviously a huge shift in the market as people are speculating, myself included, that Jordan Love will go. But even more than that, I think this sets up fairly well for an over game state, even if Jordan Love is not available, because Will Levis is Will Levis. He's going to do Will Levis things. He's going to create short fields for the Packers to capitalize on. And I think ultimately this is, set up for, a game that should be lined in the 41 range, not 38. And for those reasons, if you take a swing on over 38, realistic chance that you should get this thing at least competitive to hit the over with a normal game state with a backup quarterback. And then the upside of Jordan Love being surprise available in Tennessee swings this thing to 43 on the close. Like it'll be a big delta if that actually comes through. So that's my plan of attack here. And ultimately, there's not enough that I've seen from the Titans defense to this point in the two games that we have to really be spooked by their matchup against a Malik Willis on the road here, if that is what this breaks. And I actually am maybe most concerned and intrigued by what is going on with L'Jarius Sneed, because he has taken some enormous step backwards, which I did not see him coming. And honestly, the Titans are set up or they're at least rostered well to stop a team that has one strong wide receiver, but not set up well to stop a team that has four legit threats in the passing game. So a lot of things to like about the Packers in this particular matchup. And again, like if you are not as if you're a little more risk averse and you don't want to take a 50-50 proposition on a week 3 game. We talked about it earlier this week, but I just still absolutely adore Packers to win the NFC North in the price range that it currently sits at market, even though it has shortened.
What do you think the line is if Love is in, and what do you think the line is if it's Malik Willis? Right now, it's Titans -1.5 as we record Thursday afternoon, 1 p.m. Eastern. I think this market the current line is kind of hedging its bets.
Yeah, I think a Malik Willis confirmation, it drops to 2.5. And I think a Jordan Love is in. This probably flips to Packers small favorite. There are still some, obviously lingering questions about you're not getting 100% healthy Jordan Love, even if he does trot out there. There are still mobility questions. He is going up against a defensive line that can create pressure. And I guess if you are a Packers bull like I am, I'm not going to be disappointed if it ultimately is Malik Willis, because I saw enough positive from him on Sunday that I think he can get this thing across the finish line for Green Bay on the road in Tennessee. So I know Tennessee is a little desperate right now. Like, this is backs against the wall for them, kitchen sink type of game. But and they have the potential for explosive plays. Surely, Packers defense is fine, not amazing. They surely showed up with extra rest preparing for the Colts, but Tennessee's going to score in this contest. So I think all told, Packers, I would be surprised if they hit 3 if Love is available, because people will have questions about his health and just effectiveness. And I would be surprised if it hits 3 if it's Malik Willis, because people, I think, are just kind of at least at this point attuned to the fact that Malik Willis was not a 7-point adjustment from Jordan Love.
Yeah, that was a bit aggressive. That's the biggest adjustment I can remember since Jordan Love, actually. Aaron Rodgers in that game against Kansas City with the line moved 7 points. Any interest in Jordan Love at 75-1 to win MVP?
Man, I mean, no one's distinguishing themselves. Someone's got to win it. Oh man, I was not prepared for you to ask this question. 75-1 is a huge number. And he is, in my mind, at least set up well to have a strong closing November, December, January. Ultimately, if he does not play this game, is it going to drift much higher? Maybe 80. If he does play this game and if he gets a win, then that is right there. The start of the narrative that moves him into the 50-30-1 range. So, you could sell me on 75-1 in a heartbeat, actually.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of meat on the bone at 75-1. I don't think it's a massive edge, but I think this should be more in the 40-1 type of range, just because the fact that passing has been so suppressed and no one has created massive distance on Love. Like, look at, Patrick Mahomes is a huge favorite to win him. Well, relative to the field, at least, the favorite to win MVP. His numbers are not particularly scary. Like, Love in week 1, even though he didn't play well, and no one's going to remember that if he finishes the season really strongly. He had 260 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. The stat line looked a lot cleaner than I thought the quality of his performance. And if he's going to come back this week, then all of a sudden he hasn't really lost much ground at all. Like, Josh Allen's numbers haven't been prolific. CJ Stroud's haven't been prolific. Then he's kind of right back there. It's just that if he were to miss this week and it's 2 games, I don't think that puts a line through him, but it obviously gets a lot more difficult. I just think the idea that we're kind of attuned to thinking with MVP, if you miss 1 game, or even if you say you miss 2 games, it's kind of curtains, because you think that that's like, oh, well, projected now you're like 600 passing yards behind what the leader is going to be. But like, Patrick Mahomes threw for like 150 yards on the weekend. Like, Jordan Love didn't really lose any ground to Mahomes specifically, outside of the Chiefs being 2-0. So I think that he's not quite back to his preseason price if he's playing this week, because he's probably going to be a bit banged up. And they are 1-1. But if Jordan Love comes back this week, I don't really see why he's likely as Jalen Hurts to win MVP, who's 15-1.
Yeah, he doesn't really need to do much statistically, in my opinion. He just needs to get the W.
Yep, I agree. All right, dominate this NFL season with a Fantasy Life Plus subscription. Get weekly rankings, start sit advice, DFS analysis, and betting tools. Use promo code SEASON20 for 20% off. Go to fantasylife.com/rotoworld to learn more. All right, Detroit Lions, not been particularly impressive so far. They're 3-point favorites at Arizona. The total is 51.5, Sunday late afternoon game. Any bet for you in this game, Drew?
Man, Cardinals for me, or pass. I did bet some Cardinals here. I think the bus is leaving the station on 3. I kind of think this is going to dip off. It's going to come off the key. If it does come off the key by the time you hear this, then I would prefer Cardinals money line to Cardinals plus 2.5 with the total like this and the variance in this kind of game. You literally, even at +3, you're betting the Cardinals because you feel like they have realistic chance to win this one. Them being at home, the Lions having played 2 extremely mediocre games at home themselves, and now having to take the show on the road while they have a lot to figure out in terms of particularly the offensive side of the ball and getting chemistry going between OC, QB, and skill group. This is a soft test in terms of who they're going up against, and the roster strength and the defense for the Cardinals. But the Cardinals are pretty much a mirror image of the Lions the way I rate them right now. Strength is pretty clearly there. The offense and the way that they can, kind of independent of game state compete. And I think that the matchup that the market is counting on, making the Lions this much of a favorite on the road, is that the pass rush for the Lions is going to have, make short work of a Cardinals, pass protection group that struggled a bit on the road against the Bills. And I kind of completely give them a pass on that. I think this is a kind of a league average offensive line. I think it's going to be much tougher for the pass rush to get there, get as much success on the road as they have had now 2 games in Ford Field, one of them a primetime game. And I think that actually sets up well for the Cardinals to have a ton of offensive success here. I agree with the very high total that we're looking at 51.5. And I think, Cardinals clearly have upside to get this win while we still figure out if the Lions are any good.
What do you think is the best way to bet the Cardinals if you believe, in some of the people out there who think that the Cardinals are actually an above average team, or at least like a neutral team, whereas they came into the season treated as certainly below average? Do you think it's to win the division, to make the playoffs, anything around Kyler Murray, Jonathan Gannon? Is there any way in?
Jonathan Gannon's not bad. But my specific opinion of the Cardinals is they're going to have their ups and downs because of the weakness of the defense. Gannon is going to wear some of the blame for that because he is the defensive guy. And I think, there could be a little bit of when you have a defensive coordinator turned head coach and the defense stinks, but the offense is amazing, then that turns into Drew Penzing should get a head coaching job kind of a narrative, as opposed to Gannon is the coach of the year narrative. So I would kind of keep that in mind. And the credit is going to go to Kyler Murray, which I don't think is going to kind of comport with him being a realistic MVP candidate, because again, like double-digit wins would be a hugely awesome outcome for the Cardinals. And 11, 12, 13 wins, which is kind of where I think you need to get to this year to have a realistic chance to be the MVP, is, I think, out of reach for this group. But OPOY, which we didn't talk about, and I regret didn't mention any quarterbacks in that discussion. I mean, if Kyler Murray does absurd things and he's QB1 fantasy wise and he's winning people fantasy leagues, and the numbers are there, then he may be in the mix there, considering that everybody else has huge questions surrounding them and is a little bit overpriced by market, particularly at the top of the board. And so it could be, it turns into an OPOY story for Kyler Murray. But I think maybe even more than that. And even though I haven't been impressed really much at all with what I've seen through 2 weeks, it's probably Marvin Harrison Jr. O'Roy is where this breaks in terms of giving credit to the Cardinals for being a surprise playoff team. Some of this is, I do still think he looks, he's everybody kind of has anchored to him being a generational prospect. And I think as long as he's competitive with like Malik Neighbors' numbers, once the dust settles, if they're a 10-win team, a playoff team, a surprise, a part of the national discourse, and the Giants are forgotten, then that gives him the leg up there. So if you said, "Hey, wow, look at that, Cardinals 10 wins, 6th seed in the NFC, what award are they getting?" My guess would be it's Marvin Harrison O'Roy.
Yeah, I think he's certainly the most likely Cardinal to win an award, which isn't really saying much, given that he is some spots, effectively the joint favorite to win the award. I think that Neighbors and the volume of stats he's going to put up, though, is a little bit of an added wrinkle there. Also, I don't think you can completely dismiss the fact that Marvin Harrison did absolutely nothing in week 1, even if you have to wash a little bit of that away or a lot of it away with what he did in week 2. But it's a little bit of a red flag. I think Neighbors is going to see like historic kind of volume for a rookie. So he would still be my bet in that market. I think the interesting one with the Cardinals is, I take your point about OPOY. I think ranked choice is really going to screw quarterbacks. Though I think it was first place votes only that Kyler or Josh Allen would have a much better chance. I just think so many people view that as a non-QB award that quarterbacks might be left off a lot of ballots, and it's viewed as the best best skill position player. I think comeback player of the year is a strange one with Kyler. The way I've thought about that is if the kind of cleaner injury cases, if they go down, and to me, those 4 guys are Aaron Rodgers. There's really 5 guys: Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, J.K. Dobbins, Nick Chubb, and Damar Hamlin, which we can talk about at some point. But I think if guys end up having cases, then I think that Kyler would just be the favorite to win the award. And he would start to get a lot more buzz around that. And that would be, I think, a pretty compelling narrative that, former number 1 pick, Call of Duty man, falls from grace, written off, and then leads the Cardinals from 4 wins to the playoffs while putting up video game numbers. I think that's a good story, even though he kind of came back last year, but last year wasn't the comeback season. This year is the comeback season. So it's a little weird and a little messy, but I think that story would resonate if there's no like super clean injury case to beat him. Because right now, like, it's just hard for him to beat, if J.K. Dobbins is going to run for 10 yards a carry. And he's not going to beat that. But obviously that's not going to continue. And then Rodgers is just a much cleaner case than Kyler.
Yeah. No, that's realistic. And I mean, like, part of the reason we're having this discussion is because the Kyler Murray clips go super viral. And it's part of the discourse. Like, people, I think, are intrigued by watching him play football. There's not much positive to kind of take away offensively from what we've seen through 2 weeks. And the fact that Kyler Murray is doing cool things on the football field is cool. And I think it's getting organic, capturing the imagination of the fans organically.
Indeed. All right. The defending Super Bowl champions are back in prime time this weekend. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs hit the road for a battle with the Falcons in Atlanta. Coverage of the matchup begins at 7 p.m. Eastern on NBC and Peacock.
As you all know by now, we've teamed up with BetMGM this season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all our picks, and we'll have special offers for our listeners each week. If you haven't signed up to BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE, and you'll get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using bonus code BETEDGE. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your first bet loses. Just make sure you use bonus code BETEDGE when you sign up. See BetMGM.com for terms. 21 plus only. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 in New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-327-5050 in Massachusetts, 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa, 1-800-981-0023 in Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use bonus code BETEDGE and get your $1,500 first bet offer today.
Okay, let's close out with Sunday Night Football. Chiefs 3.5-point favorites away to the Falcons. Total 46.5. This was 5.5, and then the Falcons showed some life on Monday night. Do you have any bet in this game, Drew?
I'm having a really tough time handicapping the side in this one. Obviously, 5.5 to 3.5 is a pretty soft move. Those are not keys, and it does not take strong opinion from the market makers to see that kind of movement. And I think through 2 weeks, I have a lot of questions about the Chiefs defense. I think despite the 2 wins, there are issues that I am seeing, particularly with their coverage at the second level in the center of the field. I have questions about Nick Bolton. I have questions about Tranquil. And I look at the Falcons' ability to attack that part of the field, and that being sort of the one kind of key, obvious, comfortable way that Kirk Cousins can operate as potential to keep the Falcons alive in this game. I also see 2 teams that are not necessarily rostered well to attack each other's weaknesses. The Chiefs definitely. I would expect that if Pacheco was healthy, that you would see a pretty healthy dose of the run in this one. They don't necessarily have enough weapons in the passing game, I think, to overcome the fact that the Falcons really only have one cover corner in AJ Terrell. And so I think that sets up for a little bit more of a cagey matchup than you would normally expect on this fast turf with Pat Mahomes involved, and just in general, an offensive team in the Falcons on the other side. So if this was a 47 or a 47.5 point total, I would be banging the table. We should play the under. At 46.5, I'm a little bit cooler on it, and I think I need to look for opportunities to get involved. Once we get into halftime and understand what the game state is going to be for the Falcons. The most kind of compelling Falcons content that I saw by margin was the Manning cast, where they broke down the fact that at long last Cousins looked good in the 2-minute drill once the playbook was simplified, and Eli surprisingly had the most kind of poignant point of view on this, and said, yeah, when you install a new offense, it is pretty straightforward that the day one stuff you feel comfortable with. And that is kind of what Cousins felt comfortable with, and it worked phenomenally well. But it was against the secondary that is significantly weaker than the Chiefs. And so I think this is going to be a close game. I think if you want to get involved in a side, I would certainly lean Falcons because you're getting the hook at home. The Chiefs are not a team that necessarily tries to win with style, with panache, with flash, and may not even be able to as they are currently rostered. And I think there feels like there's a reckoning coming a little bit, a market correction a bit on the Chiefs. This current market move, my assumption is this is one way, people believing in the Falcons as opposed to doubting the Chiefs. But there's a lot of things about the Chiefs that I find suspect, and at some point this year we're going to have a conversation about that after they have a performance that kind of really exposes some of the flaws that look apparent to me.
What do you think the concern level is with the Chiefs passing game? Because they were, I think Mahomes was like top ahead, like minus 0.18 EPA per play against the Bengals, throws 2 picks, has a third one called back by a penalty that was unrelated to the throw that he made from memory, and they benched their left tackle during the game. So what do you think the concern level is, or do you think that Lou Anarumo just puts Mahomes in a blender?
I think there's a little bit of both there. But the fact that the offensive line is so in flux through just 2 starts and it's not related to injury is a problem. And I'm definitely, there's a general kind of blood in the water, so to speak, when teams kind of get a sense of, oh, we got a key weakness here we can pick on. And I would be a little bit surprised if the Falcons defensive coordinator is not spending a lot of his time trying to make sure that they take advantages of the weaknesses on the left side of the line here for the Chiefs. And they don't necessarily have the personnel to do it, at least not at face value. But maybe through simulated pressures and some kind of exotic ways to try to kind of introduce some misdirection and some mystery pre-snap. They can get a little bit of pressure on Mahomes here and continue to we can continue to see the worst of him because through 2 weeks it hasn't looked clean. It hasn't looked great. Their most explosive plays were a broken coverage against the Ravens and a lot of stuff on the ground that came the hard way. So, there is absolutely room for concern about the Chiefs. Now, if you're telling me Are you concerned to the degree that you would sell them in the futures market from terms of Super Bowl or AFC? No. I think I have been thinking sincerely about whether or not I need to get involved with Chargers AFC West, but maybe the better bet there is just bet the Chargers week 4. But I think the Chiefs are going to be a better team in January than they are in September, and that is pretty much true every single year, other than the breakout year for Mahomes in 2019.
Yep. No, I think that's fair. No real reason to have long-term concern over the Chiefs, given that they looked atrocious on offense for large parts of 18 weeks and then won the Super Bowl last year anyway. Let's jump into our best bets, and I'll stay with this game. My best bet this week is Bijan Robinson over 70.5 rushing yards against Kansas City. A few things here. One, the Chiefs are last in the NFL by a good margin in terms of rush defense success rate. So you can run on Kansas City, as you've kind of been able to do for what feels like the entirety of the Patrick Mahomes era, for whatever reason, not Mahomes' fault, just how it's lined up. Bijan, I think people got a little bit perhaps too scared by the fact that, he had 14 carries and Tyler Algier had 9 against the Eagles. I think that was a little bit more of a function of just like Bijan, his additional touches disproportionately skewed to the pass game, where he got 5 targets, Algier gets 1. I would read the first 2 games in conjunction and not focus only on MNF against the Eagles. MNF sounds weird to say. I'm just going to say Monday night. Now on SNF rolls off the tongue much more easily. But anyway, when you look at those 2 games in conjunction, Bijan's playing 82% of the snaps at running back. He's getting 73% of running back carries. His route participation, 73%. Like when you look at Scott Barrett, who does the bell cow report, in terms of bell cow workload, Bijan is 4th in the NFL. So that is a big lift up from last season. I think that this offense has transitioned to being Bijan's, and this reminds me a little bit. It's not quite the same because he's not going to get the same type of workload, but reminds me a little bit about how the first 2 weeks of last season, Christian McCaffrey was being set at like 66.5 rushing yards. When, by the midpoint of the season, he was being set in like the low 90s or high 80s from memory. And I don't think Bijan's going to get to that level, but I think this guy, until further notice, he's the best running back in the league. I think he should be set high 70s, and he's playing a terrible rush defense, and he's set at 70.5. So give me the over on Bijan Robinson rushing yards. What do you like this week?
First of all, what a play. Absolutely love that. I could not agree with you more, and that breakdown was phenomenal. This is this is just a perfect matchup for Bijan, and I apologize for not even mentioning that in the breakdown of the handicap. But that's another reason to look at the under in that game, because it could be keep away for the Falcons. The best bet on the board for me, I'm going to go with kind of a tried and true angle that we haven't gotten to play in a little while. I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers on the money line. And the reason is a little old school. It's a little narrative-y, but it is one that I absolutely adore. The Chargers were excellent against the Panthers on the road in week 2, Jay. Week 3, they're on the road against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Chargers elected to have what effectively amounts to an extension of training camp, where they spend the week together, no distractions, nothing to, kind of prevent optimal preparation. And you've sat through games before where you have a bet on the side, and the announcer's like, man, when we were talking to these guys, they had the best week of practice of their whole season, and they came out so prepared, and everything that they wanted to do was just, it's exactly what worked against this team. Well, in my experience, when you look at teams that do this early in the season and they get sort of a secondary camp opportunity to have 2 weeks of tape and to have 2 weeks of understanding what your opponent's tendencies are, and a concentrated week of preparation, like the Chargers have gotten this week, it tends to get you into the 90+ percentile in terms of performance. And so I am perfectly fine giving the Chargers a bump in terms of my median expectation for them this week. And just the fact that the Chargers have been a professional, well-coached team from Jump Street with Harbaugh in charge has me believing that this is going to be a little bit of a statement game for LA. The fact that they're getting this statement game against a team in the Steelers who I have zero faith in has definitely helped me to make this bet more sincere. And then just in general, the fact that they have an offensive line that looks outstanding, that can go toe-to-toe with the strength of the Steelers, maybe the only strength of the Steelers, which is their D-line, has kind of put the cherry on top here for me here. So my fare with the Chargers coming in at an 84th to a 95th percentile performance here would be Chargers -2.5. And I think Justin Fields and the Steelers offense are in deep trouble against a Chargers team that can do some of the things that I really like to see defenses do now in terms of misdirection. So a little bit of a one-dimensional Steelers team against a much more well-coached and coordinated Chargers defense. I think we'll set up well here for the Chargers to get a clean win on the road as they set up for a showdown with the Chiefs next week.
Yep, I like all of that. I would be taking the Chargers as well. I think the Chargers have some question marks about their secondary and what needs to happen when they have to throw, but not sure those things are going to surface in this game in particular with Justin Fields at quarterback. So macro, pretty bullish on the Chargers and would be wanting to buy Chargers shares and conversely looking to sell the Steelers really based on I think they're being valued a little bit too highly at the moment, just given that they haven't had to get into like pure drop back and pass situations much, which is going to be their undoing, I would suspect. And also like take a look at the Steelers schedule, like back half of the season. It's completely insane. It's like they play Baltimore every week. So I think that the Steelers might be in for a bit of a rude awakening, even if they are, around a coin flip to make the playoffs. All right, we are done for today. If you want to go back through our podcast feed or the YouTube channel and check out our other game previews for the week, please do that. But we're done for now, so don't forget to check out NBCsports.com for more information to help you with your wagers. Thanks to those watching on the NBC Sports YouTube channel. And if you're listening to us in podcast form, don't forget to rate and subscribe. Also a reminder to find all your favorite NBC Sports shows on Amazon Music. Just head to amazon.com/NBC Sports. From myself and Drew Dinsick, we'll see you soon.